Okay, chapter 3 is going to talk about what we call measures of central tendency. Where does our data tend to cluster? So the first one we're going to talk about is the mean, median, and mode. And you should be familiar with all three of these concepts. So a lot of times researchers will ask, what's the average age at which someone is first arrested? What's the average caseload for a probation officer? What's the average prison sentence for a sex offender? So it can be useful to find one number to describe a group. And that's what a measure of central tendency does. So they're looking at what's near the middle or center of a distribution where most of the data is concentrated. So as I mentioned, we have three measures of central tendency: mode, median, and mean. So mode is the number or the value that occurs most often. So in this frequency distribution we have here 20, 21, 30, 20, 22, 20, 21, 20. 20 is the mode. Sometimes we have more than one mode. In this next one, you'll see both 90 and 96 are the mode, and we call that a bimodal distribution. Okay, the mode is the only measure of central tendency that we can use for nominal level variables. So let's think about those nominal level variables again. These are variables where they're just a name, okay? So if we're reporting on the sex of a distribution, the social class of a distribution, what else? The race of a distribution, okay? And we want to use a measure of central tendency. Mode is the only one you can use. Okay, we also use the median. The median is the middlemost case in a distribution. And we can use this for ordinal and interval level data, okay? So think about what we talk about when we talk about a median in the road, right? The median strip. That's the part of the road that divides the road into two equal halves, okay? So the median means just as many people are above that number as are below that number. So in order to find the median, first we have to make sure our cases are ordered. So remember, with ordinal and interval level data, we could put it in an order. If there's an odd number of cases, there's one single middle point, okay? If there's an even number of cases, there's two, and what we do is we take the halfway point between those two numbers. So here we have a distribution 1, 5, 2, 9, 13, 11, and 4. Well, first we have to sort it from lowest to highest, okay? Then we want to find the position of the median, okay? So that's the number of, it's our sample size, n plus 1 divided by 2, okay? So we have 7 values in this distribution, plus 1 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So we're looking for the number that's in the 4th position, and that happens to be 5. Okay? In this group, you notice we'll have an even number of cases, right? So the median falls between 2 and 3, so we take the halfway point there, and that's a median of 2.5. Okay, the mean is like the center of gravity of a distribution, and this is appropriate for interval level data, okay? So there's a couple, you're going to notice we're going to start to use some Greek letters, okay? So X bar is the mean. That's the X with the line over. It's pronounced X bar, okay? That weird looking backwards E means sum. X is the raw scores in a set of score, and N is the total number of scores in a set. Now, the mean means average, okay? So for an average, what are we going to do, okay? We're going to sum up all the numbers and divide by how many numbers there are. So in this distribution, we have 4, 8, 11, and 2. We're going to add them together for 25, divide by 4, and our mean, X bar, is 6.25 years. Okay, so how do we know what measure of central tendency we can use? Okay, and this might be a handy chart for you to print out and keep in your notebook. Okay, if it's a nominal level variable, the mode is the only one that's appropriate. If it's an ordinal level variable, you can use mode or median. And if it's an interval or ratio level variable, you can use mode, median, and mean. Okay, the next concept we're going to talk about is deviations. Okay, so this is basically the distance and direction of any raw score from the mean. So remember we had that average a couple minutes ago of 6.25 years for a prison sentence. So a deviation would be how far away from that average, 6.25, any other score lies. Okay, so it's the score you're looking at minus the average. Okay, so remember that the mode is the answer that is occurring the most frequently. The median means just as many people answered above the median as below the median. And the mean is an average. So what we're going to talk about now is how to calculate this from a simple frequency distribution. So here we have a frequency distribution, right? So remember, X is all of our answers. So you can see they range from 31 to 18, okay? F is the frequency, how many times people gave that answer. So for example, 27 was given as an answer twice. CF is the cumulative frequency. So you could see by the top, we have 25 answers in our sample. Okay, and then we have f of x, okay? So what we're looking for, we've got this thing that tells us about how to find the position of the median, right? And we can do this if we have, a large number of cases. This might be easier than using the method we used in class where we just sort of line them up and cross them off. So you can see here what we do is we take the number of cases and we add 1, okay? Because what we need to do is think about if you're counting from 1 to 10. You wouldn't take 10 minus 1 means you have 9 things. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to have 26 divided by 3. That means the answer that's in the 13th position is going to be our median, okay? So we have here, it's showing us here that X bar, recall that X bar is the mean, okay, is 23, the median is 22, and then the mode we can figure out pretty easily by looking at the column F, right? Column F, we can see the largest number is 4, and that is 19. Okay, they're also showing us here how to calculate X bar, how to calculate our average, okay? So I don't know if you could see okay. This thing right here, hold on, I'm trying to use a pen. I don't know if it's going to work. Okay. This thing right here is called sigma, and it means to sum, okay? So we're going to sum, in order to get the average, we're going to sum up f of x, which is this column, divided by n, which is 25. Okay, so we get 575 divided by 25 equals 23. So how do we decide what measure of central tendency to use? And you recall we've actually talked about this a little bit. We're going to look at mostly what level of measurement we have. So there's 3 things we want to look at: the level of measurement, the shape of the distribution, and what is actually our goal with our research. So in terms of the shape of the distribution, if you recall, we have a bell curve, right? And a bell curve means that the distribution is symmetrical. So the mean, median, and mode should all have identical values. So just remember, a bell curve looks like this. This is going to look terrible, right? So right here would be your mean, median, and mode. Okay, a skewed distribution, the mode is the peak of the curve, the mean is closer to the tail, and the median falls between the two. And so when the distribution is skewed, when it's not normally distributed in a bell curve, it's very influenced by extreme scores. So remember I gave you the example about how Northeastern used to publish what their average salary rate was for criminal justice majors who had graduated, and that there was a professional basketball player who had been a criminal justice major. And so because he was making an extreme amount of money, that was skewing what the average is. When there are 2 modes, we should use both modes to describe the data. Okay, so here's that bell curve as I mentioned, right? And the mean, median, and mode would all be right here. Okay, and I mean, think about this, right? So this is the mode because it's at the peak. It's the one occurring the most often. It's right in the middle, and it's the average. Okay, here we've got ones that are skewed, right? And we can see again, still the mode is going to be the peak, the one that's occurring most frequently, right? Because think about this for a minute, right? This is frequency. Whoa, that is not a straight line at all. You guys get my point though, right? Wow, neither is that. That's worse. Okay, so if we're doing fast and simple research, we're looking for the mode. What's the most frequently occurring answer? If we've got a skewed distribution, we want the median. And if we're doing anything advanced, we want the mean. And that sums up the end of this chapter.